K-File, unearthing new and incredibly revealing details about Jeffrey Epstein and his opinions of Donald Trump, someone that Epstein once called his closest friend for 10 years. The emails and text messages show that Epstein continued to be focused on Trump when he became president, questioning his sanity, psychoanalyzing him as someone who feels alone and might, quote, crack, even suggesting without explanation in one email, quote, I am the one able to take him down. Obviously, in the context of all of this, you want to know more there, but we don't have the context. The two men, of course, were once extremely close. Several associates of both of them have told us over the past year that they were the best of friends. Andrew Kaczynski of K-File is out front now with his new reporting. And Andrew, you actually went through, and it's a lot. You can get document dump like this.
Yeah.
You can word search, which actually was not easy in these documents because they were scanned. But then you have to really try to read them. And you read through thousands of pages. What did you find?
That's right, Aaron. And after going through thousands of these newly released emails, there's a few things that quickly became clear to all of us. One is that Epstein kept bringing up Donald Trump long after Trump said their friendship had ended. His private comments about Trump were, for the most part, remarkably negative and harsh. And he sort of often cast himself as someone who understood the former president's mindset. Now, in messages in 2017 and 2018, he described him as, quote, effing crazy. You can see that right there, speculated he might have early dementia, called him a maniac, borderline insane. There was something where he compared him to a mob boss. There was something where somebody messaged him and said, Trump is truly stupid, to which he replied, duh. So, one of the emails that we found that was very interesting was this one to Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, in which Epstein harshly described Trump, writing, quote, I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump, not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous. Another we found seemingly mocked Trump. It was a 2019 exchange in which a contact wrote, just met your friend POTUS. And he responded back, see if you still have your wallet. And with this one where he discusses his view of how Trump was handling the Russia investigation, Epstein wrote, your world does not understand how dumb he really is. He will blame everyone around him for the bad results.
I mean, it's really incredible when you go through this, right? And you realize how, these files, how, as Garcia was just talking about, right? Just the frequency with which Trump's name was mentioned. He was the subject. Trump obviously has never been accused by law enforcement of any wrongdoing, and it's important to always note that when we're talking about this. But the emails do suggest that Trump was a recurring fixation for Epstein, right? He keeps talking about him. He keeps analyzing him. What kind of insight did Epstein claim to have into Trump, Andrew? And I say that in the context of the fact that we know for many years the two men were very close.
Very close, very close. Trump had said in that New York Magazine article where he called him a, quote, terrific guy, that they had been, he had known him for 15 years at that point, and that was in the year 2000, so going all the way back to the 1980s. And Aaron, what you see in these messages is that Trump did talk about Epstein as if he was someone he had special insight to, if he understood how Trump thought in a way other people didn't. He described Trump as impulsive, isolated, in his own words, quote, nuts and dangerous. Take a look at this 2018 email where they're discussing this Daily Beast story that suggested that Trump was having a mental breakdown. He wrote, he feels alone and is nuts, using 3 exclamation points. I told everyone from day one, evil beyond belief, mad, and most thought I was speaking metaphorically. It's obvious he could crack. Stormy Daniels, lies after lies after lies, he wrote. In another exchange, he offered this assessment of Trump to someone who maybe was looking for insight into him. Donald is close to no one. He talks to many people. He tells each one something different. Now, Aaron, it's going to be, we'll still have to see, are these emails going to change anything politically? But that vote is coming up next week where the House is going to report or vote on releasing the Epstein files. That'll then have to go to the Senate and be signed by the president. So this isn't going away. It's going to stay in the news, and we're going to see if more revelations keep happening.
Yeah, we will. And Garcia making it clear they're going to go back to the Epstein estate if for any reason Trump's called for investigation stymies their efforts at the DOJ. K-File, Andrew Kaczynski, thank you so much. LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman just responding to President Trump's demand that he be investigated for his alleged involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Hoffman saying the move was a, quote, obvious ploy to delay release of the Epstein files, writing Trump should release all of the Epstein files, every person and every document in the files. Hoffman wrote in a thread on X, Adding later, the call for an investigation is an obvious ploy to avoid releasing the files. Simply release all the files and expose the people who had both deep and ongoing relationships with Epstein. Now, this is very significant, coming as it does after Trump earlier today had come out and said that he wanted an investigation from his own DOJ into several individuals, all of whom were Democrats or with deep Democratic ties. Reid Hoffman is the founder of LinkedIn and one of the biggest Democratic donors out there. Trump had repeatedly said he wanted investigations into Hoffman already, along with George Soros. Trump also mentioning Larry Summers and JP Morgan, as well as Bill Clinton. In his list, Pam Bondi immediately acquiesced and said she would do the investigation. Kristen Holmes is back with us. But Kristen, you hear Reid Hoffman coming out, posting this online with his response, and Trump now answering questions on the Epstein emails, right? This big treasure trove that came out in the past 24 hours or 48 hours, thousands of pages. His name is in them, all over them. Congressman Garcia just said his name is in them more than anyone else's that Trump mentioned. So what is Trump saying now?
Well, President Trump has been answering questions about all of this, essentially saying that he believes that they being the Department of Justice, uncover all of the different relationships between Epstein and these various individuals. Obviously, Reid Hoffman, one of them, Larry Summers, one of them, Bill Clinton. I do think we just need to make it very clear that these investigations have already happened, not necessarily just into these individuals, but into Epstein as a whole, and ties that he had to a lot of prominent people. And these investigations that actually happened in the Southern District of New York found that they couldn't charge anyone else. And of course, this goes to the whole thing that we have been discussing, which is, how can you say that this is a hoax, but then call for an investigation into a hoax? Now, I do want to note one other thing, Aaron, because we have been talking about this extensively. And just a reminder, I asked Carolyn Levitt about this in particular, and she said she'd get back to me, and we never did, which was about this MRI that President Trump said that he had. Now, I know this is a separate topic, but I do think it's really important because we've been covering it so closely, and we've never gotten answers from the White House on this. Essentially, he says that he doesn't know why he got an MRI. He was asked about it again, and then said that it was part of a routine checkup. Well, part of the reason that we've been pushing for answers on this MRI is because an MRI is not part of a routine checkup in general. And so now he's saying it was part of that kind of routine checkup, that he doesn't know why he got it. But again, this doesn't really give us the answers that we have been asking for when it comes to President Trump's health. And just a reminder, and President Trump himself said, ask the doctors. Of course, we've reached out to the doctors. They're not going to answer us. They haven't. But then on top of that, he said he wanted to be transparent, but we still don't have any of these answers here in terms of his health.
Well, I think those are really important things, and I'm glad you brought it up, Kristen, because obviously, it also defies belief to think that you wouldn't know the reason you got an MRI if you went in and got one. Kristen, thank you.